really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas Wings get good, because the Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up.
Went off in a game against the Los Angeles Sparks, scoring 44 points, but the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field, and I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually insane. But with this game, like, Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring, and I think with that, these are some big.
The WNBA played against Caitlin Clark in terms of the defensive strategy, in terms of the other basketball teams around the WNBA. What they did against Caitlin Clark versus how they've handled Paige this year. Everybody wants to act like Paige is so much better than Caitlin. They're certainly not playing defense on Paige the way they played on Caitlin. They're certainly not attacking her with unnecessary fouls the way they attacked Caitlin with unnecessary fouls last year. So in the 2024 season, there were 35 flagrant fouls called. Caitlin Clark received 17% of the entire season's flagrant fouls, 17%. I mean, we've seen all the injuries, we've seen all the fights, the MMA fights that the WNBA players have gotten into this year. There haven't been 35 flagrant.
You said it's going to be important to be physical with like Paige Bueckers. Can you talk about the defensive game plan for Dallas and like how your team was able to hold them to their fewest points of the season?
Yeah, it started, with our attention to detail with Paige. I thought, Slim was very physical, stayed in her space, and the actions that we guarded her in, we were very aggressive, showed multiple bodies, and kind of, made her hesitant to use the ball screen a little bit. I thought we rotated well. And everyone who ended up being on Paige from E.
Assists did she have? Not enough. But if her name was Caitlin Clark, I bet she would have had at least 9 to 10 assists. You hear me? Because she's more than just a scorer. You hear me? Unlike Paige Bueckers, she's only a scorer. She's not dynamic. She's boring. You hear me? Clearly she fits the narrative, but she can't handle being double team or triple team.
Kat Engelbert is breathing a sigh of relief. Her pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying to crown a new star. If the media has it their way, this could potentially be the new face of pretend basketball. And it's not just the woke media. There are even some in conservative media who are voluntarily biting into the shit sandwich. Headline at Outkick: "No Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save."
For the first time in her career, and it looked bad. It looked real bad. Everybody was running around. Yeah, she was cooking 44 points versus the Sparks. They didn't play a lick of defense, letting this girl play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor. Letting her post up in the mid-range area, one-on-one. Now, I'm giving credit. She's a bucket in one-on-one, especially from that mid-range, from the free throw line down area. But this is the first time we watch teams actively be persistent about taking away her spots and what she
had 0 assists and 11 points. 0 assists. 0 assists. I don't like. That's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not even going to say, oh yeah, the points are everything. Points aren't everything at the end of the day. Assists aren't everything. Like, all of these individual stats aren't everything. It was just the fact that she literally, how many blitzes did the Indiana or how many open shots did the Indiana Fever get off a Caitlin Clark blitz? And albeit it's very different.
Paige Bueckers' latest game was supposed to be another showcase of her star power, but instead it turned into a nightmare. Trapped, blitzed, and forced into rushed decisions, she looked exactly like Caitlin Clark on her toughest nights when defenses swarm with 2 or even 3 defenders. What should have been a statement game quickly unraveled, leaving fans stunned at how thoroughly a star could be neutralized. This wasn't just a bad outing, it was a reminder that when the spotlight burns brightest, defenses will go to extreme lengths to expose weaknesses. The stats tell the story. Bueckers finished with only 11 points on 4 of 15 shooting, 6 turnovers, and just 3 assists. For a player averaging nearly 19 points on 47% shooting with a strong assist-to-turnover ratio, that inefficiency was shocking. Every time she crossed half court, Seattle blitzed her into giving up the ball, and UConn's offense collapsed to an 89.3 rating, almost 20 points below their season average. Fans expecting fireworks instead got frustration, and the narrative flipped from dominance to vulnerability in one night. The timing couldn't be worse. UConn is jockeying for NCAA tournament seeding, and Bueckers' efficiency is central to their ceiling. Coming in, she was one of the nation's most efficient guards with a true shooting mark above 58%. But when forced into traps, her control disappeared, and the Huskies' turnover rate spiked by 10% over their norm. For a program with championship expectations, those numbers are the difference between a deep run and an early upset. Coaches across the NCAA will now copy the blueprint, just as WNBA coaches have with Caitlin Clark. Blitzed like Clark isn't just a one-game headline, it's a tactical adjustment that could shadow her for the rest of the season. Comparisons make the problem clearer. Clark has endured games where defenses threw bodies at her every trip, but she adjusted by racking up assists. Sabrina Ionescu also struggled early against traps, but adapted by moving off ball and punishing with spacing. Breanna Stewart could fall back on defense when her scoring dipped. For Bueckers, though, when scoring dried up, UConn's entire identity broke down. That distinction makes her nightmare feel more like a warning. Until she develops consistent counters, UConn will remain exposed whenever opponents decide to blitz her. The fallout reached beyond basketball. The UConn-Seattle matchup drew 1.02 million viewers on ESPN, but the storyline wasn't about the win or seeding. It was about how Bueckers was blitzed into irrelevance. Clips of her turnovers and frustration pulled 2.3 million TikTok and Twitter views within 24 hours, outpacing official highlights 3-1. Ticket resale prices for UConn's next home game fell from $84 to $62, and Fanatics searches for her jersey dipped 18% after the loss. Sportsbooks also saw a 22% decline in over bets on her points props. Like with Clark, one night of struggle became the dominant narrative, reshaping fan confidence and markets in real time. The implications are massive. Defenses now have a clear blueprint. Trap Bueckers, force her to give it up, and dare UConn's role players to beat you. Until she develops quicker reads and trusts her teammates more, that pressure won't stop. For UConn's postseason hopes, the stakes are obvious. Models show even one upset loss could cost them a seed line and alter their Final Four path. With Bueckers at her best, UConn posts a plus 17 net rating. When she's neutralized, that number collapses close to 0. For the broader women's game, this is about more than one box score. Networks love Bueckers because she draws crossover interest, but a perception of vulnerability generates just as many headlines as dominance. If she rebounds quickly, the story becomes resilience, an angle that sells well to fans, media, and sponsors. If she falters again, however, the blitzed like Clark label could stick, making every game a referendum on her ability to adapt. Paige Bueckers' nightmare wasn't just another tough game. It symbolized the razor-thin line between stardom and scrutiny. One night she looks untouchable, the next she's swarmed into silence, and in today's media cycle, those moments define narratives more than wins or losses. For UConn, the solution is to protect their star with better schemes and a stronger supporting cast. For women's basketball, it's a reminder that hype doesn't just elevate, it magnifies every stumble. So the questions linger. Can Paige Bueckers adjust as fast as defenses are adjusting to her? Or will blitzed like Clark become a label she can't escape? And more importantly, does the hype fueling women's basketball help raise the game? Or does it burden stars with impossible expectations under the brightest lights?